All right, guys, today we're going to learn how to add and subtract with equations. You'll remember that equations are something that have a variable in it, and you're trying to figure out what the variable is. So the first thing you need to do is put your name and the date on the paper. All right, the number one most important thing to remember when you're trying to solve equations is that you can use inverse relationships to get the variable alone to solve an equation. Really all this means is you can use operations that are opposites, which is what inverse means, in order to get the variable on one side to solve an equation. Inverse relationships undo each other. So for example, if I had x plus 6 and I subtracted 6 from that, I would end up with just x on one side. And that's very important when you're trying to solve an equation. Your ultimate goal is to move everything from the side with the variable to the other side. So let's talk about what the inverses of each operation are. So if I want to do the inverse or the opposite of addition, I would do subtraction. You can see in our example, subtraction undid addition. The inverse of subtraction is addition. I'm sure you've guessed by now, but the inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. The other most important thing you need to remember when you are solving equations is that whatever you do on one side of the equal side, you have to do the other in order to keep the equation balanced. Think back to when we did the cube and bag activity. Our ultimate goal was to put things on both sides of that balance beam, and we wanted our balance beam to stay level or stay equal on either side. So we didn't have anything that this was equal to on our example, but let's pretend for a second that we had x plus 6 equals 10. Whatever I did on this side of the equal sign, I have to do this. So if I subtract 6 over here, I have to subtract 6 on the other side, which leaves me with 4. You'll notice now you have x on one side, equals in the middle, and 4 on the other. This means that x must equal 4 in this situation. We should always go back and use substitution to check though. So if I plug this 4 in for x, I would have 4 plus 6 equals 10. And then I would know I had 10 equals 10. Since this is a true statement, this problem checks out. Let's try one together. 5 plus c equals 15. Now remember, I said you always want the variable to be by itself at the end. So if the variable is on the left-hand side, we're going to try to move everything else on that side to the right. So right now, we're going to try to work with this 5. We have a positive 5 here. So what do we need to do? Let's go back and look. The inverse of addition, oh, that's right, subtraction. So I would subtract 5 from this side. And I would end up with just c. Now remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. If I subtract c from the right-hand side, I would end up with 10. And remember, the equal sign was still in the middle. So in this situation, it looks like c equals 10. That would be me solving the equation. However, since we're all really great mathematicians, we're going to go back and do some quick mental math to make sure that is correct. If I plug in 10 for c, or substitute, I should end up with something that equals 15. And I have 5 plus 10, which equals 15. So that checks out. What I want you to do now is pause the video and try this one on your own. After you're done with the problem, you can go ahead and hit play and double check your answer with me. Okay, so on this one, what you should have been thinking is, which side should I start on? You would have noticed the variable is on the left-hand side again. So that means you want to get rid of everything else on the left-hand side. You have the number 20 here. However, it's a little different from our first two examples because you see the subtraction sign. You would have thought to yourself, all right, I need to undo subtraction, so I'm going to use addition. And you would have added 20. to this side. And since you guys know whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, you would have added 20 to the right side as well, which would have left x on this side equals 36. If you plug your problem back in, if you plug what you found x to equal or substitute back in, you should end up with that answer. So if we have 36 minus 20, you should have ended up with 16. That checks out. All right, you guys have 6 problems here on the bottom. The first 3 are pretty simple. The one on the bottom left here is not too hard, but it does have a decimal in it, so I just want you to try your best. These 2 are some word problems that I would like for you to try. Remember, it's okay if you get it wrong. We're still learning how to do this. The most important thing is that you try, persevere, use a positive attitude, and participate.